and welcome once again to SBK Edge Rush Extra. Never forget the extra. Never forget Tom Collins, 3 out of 3 last week. You got a big smile on your face.
Yeah, you love to see it, don't you? Just Aaron Jones as well, the cherry on top of the cake with the Packers winning the final game. Yeah, perfect week last week. Hopefully it carries on this time around as well.
If you have to go to Packers straight off the bat, you go Packers. You're not even wearing the Rodgers jersey, but I noticed the Packers helmet. Yeah.
You love to see it, don't you?
No other team. There are 31 other teams in the NFL, quite frankly, Tom, and you go there. Well, we're going to talk Packers, of course. Big game against Tampa Bay. Rodgers, Brady, can't wait for that. But let's lead off with the two, well, I'm going to call them the zeitgeist teams in the NFL right now, with respects to the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Buffalo Bills, very much best in show right now, and the Miami Dolphins, the comeback kids, that sensational offensive performance against the Baltimore Ravens. And as they'd hoped, as the Dolphins had expected, the pace, the burn, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Gesicki getting in on the act. Who cares if he can't block, if he's making catches like that? Is this one of the most exciting offenses you can remember seeing in Miami, Tom?
Oh, 100%. I think it's the best I can ever see. Obviously, I'm very young still, but at the same time, the Dolphins offense has been, plodding along the last 2 years. Now they've got pure speed. They've drafted and they've traded for speed. They've got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, probably the best 1-2 punch at the moment at wide receiver. Tua Tagovailoa came of age last week, didn't he? He was phenomenal on the deep bombs. That comeback was the storyline of week 2. Really looking forward to see how they get on against the Bills, because in my opinion, and I know many others, Buffalo are definitely the best team in football right now.
Yeah, and defensively underpinning that and then some. So it's going to be a real test for Mike McDaniel, Tua, and this Dolphins offense. Let's concentrate on the speed, because look, Baltimore got a decent secondary, but they were banged up as the game went on. Altogether different proposition you would suggest against Buffalo, but there are injury concerns in the mix there as well in the secondary for Buffalo. So that's something to keep an eye on in this game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Buffalo through the first 2 games this year have conceded the second fewest amount of points, the second fewest amount of yards. But you have to note that they not only have been miles ahead early on in their games, but they've kind of down tools, and the opposition have realised that, that this game is not there for the taking, and have put in some bench players and maybe not played their top receivers or running backs in the final quarter. So this is the test for both teams. It's not just a test for the Dolphins to see whether they're capable of going on a Super Bowl run this year, but it's a test for the Bills to see how they deal with this speed. I mean, I love Buffalo's secondary. When they're all fit, I think they're the best in the game at the moment. I think Buffalo take this, but I think there's going to be plenty of points.
Oh, you're expecting a shootout. I think we're all hoping for a shootout as well. Is it too early? And we love wild overreactions and ridiculous reaches in week 3 of the season. Is this an AFC East decider already?
I think it's definitely, you could consider it being an AFC East decider. I think it's probably one of the best games of the season, no matter what happens in the later weeks. Maybe week 16, there'll be some kind of decider in another division. But this team these are the 2 talking teams in the league right now. We want to see a shootout. We want to see 38-35 again. We want them to hit the over 54 points, which I think is a great bet in this game. It's worth noting that the Bills are the money line favourite. The spread is 5.5 points in favour of Buffalo. But, I mean, you can make a case for Dolphins coming back. I mean, last week, who knew they were going to come back against the Ravens? That game looked over at
You
halftime.
say that. I never doubted it. I never doubted it. Never doubt McDaniel. And Tua we trust. Okay, so we're expecting a shootout Buffalo, Miami. I suspect it'll be a more attritional affair with Green Bay and Tampa Bay, 2 of the all-time greats, of course, going at it once again. 2 teams that have got undoubtedly a stout defense, but neither of them offensively in the groove at the moment. And injuries have played their part, certainly as far as Tampa Bay are concerned. Mike Evans and his roundhouse right, ensuring that he's not going to be suiting up for Tampa Bay. More issues than for Brady, because Godwin, of course, a significant injury doubt. And he's definitely come into the season not finding his groove yet. So a difficult test for Brady up against this Green Bay D.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup is going to be billed as Aaron Rodgers v Tom Brady, as always. I mean, 2 legendary veteran quarterbacks at the helm. But this is really about the defense. As you mentioned, the Buccaneers wide receiver room is looking pretty empty right now. Russell Gage is potentially their wide receiver number 1 this week, with Evans, Godwin, and maybe Julio Jones out. The Packers receiver room, well, we've talked about that both weeks so far. I mean, it's not looking good. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon carried the rock and caught the rock last week and led us to victory. But I think this is going to be about the defense. The over and under set at 42.5 points, quite low for 2 power-packed offenses, supposedly. I mean, they finished 1st and 3rd last year in that regard, but this year just nothing of the sort. So I do imagine it'll be an attritional affair. I think there'll be plenty of rushing in this game from both sides. I think Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon will be counted upon, let's say, for the Packers to win this. But the Bucs are 2 points favourite. I think they'll probably beat us, unfortunately. They're playing at home. And I think Leonard Fournette's going to have a massive say in this game. He tweeted earlier this week that he was letting down his fantasy owners. But at the same time, he thinks that touchdowns are going to come. And I think in this game this week, that he'll score an anytime touchdown for the Buccaneers.
Ooh, you like Fournette, you like playoff Lenny to get it done in the regular season. I admire your confidence with Tampa, particularly, of course, as even then, as you established, referring to Green Bay as we all know where your colors are now. I quite like the Packers in this matchup. I really do. Yeah, I think that speed in the Tampa D is going to be fascinating for Rodgers to navigate. But I think the injuries offensively to Tampa are going to prove to be the deciding factor here. So speaking of injury, of course, all change in the Bay Area. San Francisco taking on Denver. And Trey Lance, their young quarterback, desperately sad to see ankle injury taking him out for the season. But enter stage right, Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup, who had been resigned to the Netherlands, a backup quarterdom, couldn't even smash up a surface, Brady-esque, because he didn't really have anything to do there. And then suddenly he's right front and center in the spotlight, big Jimmy G grin on his face, and trajectories have changed once again. I wrote about it for SBK. Go check the website out. Read all about that fascinating story that it is. But more importantly than that, Tom Collins, does this make San Francisco a more legitimate Super Bowl contender with Jimmy G at the helm?
Well, it definitely could do. Jimmy G is proven. Trey Lance wasn't proven. We were maybe thinking he could be the next up-and-coming quarterback, rushing, run-pass option quarterback. Unfortunately, the injury last week means that they're sticking with Jimmy G, but he's the highest paid backup in the league. I mean, if you're going to fall back on a different quarterback, Jimmy G's the man. The 49ers are 1 point favourites to beat the Broncos in this game. It's going to be a real nice fixture. I really like these two teams. I think they're both going to be playoff contenders. I'm going to be sticking with the Broncos here. But I should say you summed up that 49ers piece perfectly in your article, as you touched on SBK Betting Zone. This could be the year for 49ers now. People were all down and out last week. Now everyone's slightly optimistic, aren't they, with Jimmy G back at the helm?
Well, there's a free abandon that he's going to play with Jimmy G, because this is a player who looked like he was going to spend the season on the sidelines. His successor taken in front of him, the position being, this guy's better than you. This guy has a higher ceiling than you. Thanks very much, Jimmy. See you later. Appreciate you getting us to a Super Bowl. You didn't quite make it. Bye-bye. And then suddenly he's now got a shot at redemption, and he's going to play with a careless abandon. I really, really like what Jimmy G could do here. Interestingly, what you say about Denver as well. Everybody noise on Denver. Oh, what a mistake it was to spend all this money on Russell Wilson. And Nathaniel Hackett, their first-year head coach, doesn't know what he's doing. He's a rabbit in the headlights. That will all come good. It's just teething problems with Hackett in the hot seat, in the front seat, the top seat as a decision maker. And Wilson is an all-pro, future Hall of Famer. There's too much talent here. Denver are going to be fine. Do you see Denver kickstarting their season against San Francisco this week?
I do. I really do. I mean, I backed them at 16-1 pre the NFL season this year. Now, obviously, in their 2 games so far, they've not been impressive. They lost to the Seahawks, but they should have won that game. They lost 17-16, fumbled twice on the 1 yard line, should have gone for it in the fourth quarter, but decided to kick a 64-yard field goal that didn't work out. Last time out, they weren't overly impressive against the Texans, but they still got the job done. The play calling has been abysmal, but at the same time, Nathaniel Hackett will pick it up. That, as you mentioned, like the play calling is going to get better. Russell Wilson will cook. We know this. We've seen him in Seattle year after year. He comes good after a potentially couple of disappointing first 2 games. So I love the Broncos in this fixture. I think they're going to win. Moneyline bet is a really enticing one for me. And although the 49ers defense is really good, I just think the Broncos have too much offensive power. If that play calling gets sorted out, they could easily put up 30 points there.
Well, as I said at the top of the show, I'm Team Tua and I'm also Team Hackett. Us Nathaniels have got to stick together, Tom, quite frankly. Now, make sure you join us again next week for some more SBK Edge Rush Extra. You can check out the Nat Coombs Show pod feed for some more angles with our SBK Edge Rush show. Me and Propo getting you set for week 3, looking at some other games. And a reminder that all new SBK customers will get £30 in free bets from after you deposit £10. TNCs apply, of course. Right, go and polish that helmet behind you, Tom Collins. Big game for the Packers this weekend. Cannot wait for that. Cannot wait to catch up with you on it all next week. Take care, man.